2019. We have a quorum. On the phone is Jer Erlingwine, who is your general counsel today, Clark Bennett, who is your financial advisor, and Michael McGilligo from SDS, who has been working on your assessments. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, good morning, everyone. The agenda as published was projected to be extremely long today, so because of the Veterans Golf Classic this afternoon and our desire to limit the meeting to 3 hours or less because of that, as well as just in general 3-hour long meetings, I would ask both the public and the board to approve a limited scope agenda for today, focusing on the critical items that we need to address today, namely the status of contractor negotiations for Phase 1, discussions on the engineered record contract and quality manager contract, and then discussions on the full service CDD management company, and finally approving the resolutions for the methodology, et cetera, for the special assessment, in other words, the bond that's going to be floated so that we can get rolling with Phase 2 and Phase 3. Does any of the board members or is any of the public opposed to that? Okay, then let's please revise the agenda such that we can focus on the critical items for today. Thank you.
Well, there is one addition, and it relates.
Just to be clear, are we taking up the this RFQ as part of the item?
Yes.
Yeah, we have H1 and 2, I 2 through 9, and then if we have time, we'll go back to the other items.
Perfect.
One addition, and I forgot, there was a second part to an email that Wes and Jer sent to me last night. I just want to touch on the subject of the assignment of a designated board member to work with council on any demand letters, actions, threats, et cetera, et cetera. So that I would like to add that to the agenda. We should have one designated board member assigned to that. So.
Mr. Chairman, I think whether on the board, once we get to some of the other items, I think the board can take it down to
Are there comments from the public for items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Approval of minutes of April 1st special board meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, changes? If not, I need a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve?
I make such a motion. I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we're going to move to H2 or H1, to status of contractor negotiations for Phase 1 repairs.
So, since the last meeting, I've been in contact with 3 of the 4 parties that are part of this discussion, as well as our counsel, litigation counsel. We've made some progress, but not much. You may recall my last report was the principal, in my view, without prejudice, was the principal issues were with Metro and with the Benita Grand Mine. The Benita Grand Mine has been non-responsive, letters back and forth from council with little response. They owed us an answer this past Friday. They gave us an answer, but unsatisfactory. So we discussed at the last meeting, subject to the success that we had going to pretrial mediation. So since we've made no progress, that's the affirmation that we're now going through, where our attorneys are reaching out to all the parties via letters this week, seeking to join them in a mediation session where we get a little bit more action. That's voluntary, it's not mandatory, and that will be the precursor to full litigation. We had hoped, as you remember, to try to get the mine on board with some participation in providing stone. That doesn't look like that's going to happen for the Phase 3 portion of the project we're going to talk about today. So I wish I could tell you that there was greater success. It didn't cost us a lot of money to get here, but nevertheless we gave it a shot. So let's hope that better results come from mediation. But that's my report.
All right, any questions? All right, if not, we'll move on to H2, discussion on the ECS contract. Jer?
We've put together a form of agreement, and I think the price tag for ECS that's been due before. Georgia, I don't know if you want to speak sort of the merits of the pricing or whatnot, but the obviously we're moving forward with a contract. We need to expand the scope a little bit. And Georgia, I think Samira, if you want to add anything in terms of your view on the pricing and also the scope, I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay, basically what we had discussed at the last meeting was that there may have been a misunderstanding on ECS's part regarding the scope of work that needed to be done. Their price was extremely low, and I don't believe it adequately reflected the amount of work. They had 6 weeks, where in reality it's 6 months worth of work. So we need to go back and just work with them to make sure they fully understand the scope and then get back to us with a realistic price for the actual amount of work that needs to be done, not 6 weeks, but in reality over 6 months. So their contract is not extremely critical because their work actually starts maybe a month or so after we start crushing rock, because the rock crushing occurs first, and there's some quality control things that are going to be going on, but they're in general responsible for delivery as well as field inspections and things like that. So it's not absolutely critical that they're on day one. Now, Stan also has an update as well.
I'm not sure it's as much as an update as I think we're also going to consider today a new district engineer. And we might want the new district engineer to take over that role because it's a great lead-in to the getting familiar with our project, our community, and presuming that they have the expansive skills, which I believe they do, that might be a worthy substitute. But I would, George, only offer comment that the sooner we engage this engineer with the inspecting quality control engineer in the project, the sooner we might be able to make some changes if there were any. In my role, if I was engaged in their review of the plans and specs, now would be the time to, if I was ECS or the new engineer, I would be able to work with the contractor before we sign the dotted line. So I'd like that to happen sooner rather than later so they can review the plans and specs and offer any final commentary. I wouldn't want them to come on board and say, these are problems, you didn't do this, this, and this. I'd rather have them part owner of the plans and specs. So my encouragement is, I think, my recommendation is, I think, to bring our new district engineer, if we go that far, see if they can provide those skills and services, and engage them in that process. If not, then ECS.
Okay, great. I mean, I then want to clarify my comment. Yes, what I don't want to do is hold up the contract for the engineer of record as well as the contract for the installation or construction for the ECS. If those are prior to ECS, that's fine with me. Additionally, on this subject, Lloyd, can you just give a brief description of the quality comments, feedback from Quality Enterprises on regarding quality control for the project that were recently published?
Yes, and also after I give this brief description of the email I received from Lou, I'd like to also give him a chance to discuss a couple items along with Josh Evans, because Lou has to head off to another meeting shortly. So where we left it last meeting, we had met with QE, and it was a very good meeting. We had 4 or 5 open items, which Lou has gotten back to us on email, which has been forwarded to our council, and there will be items that will be incorporated into the contract. First was, we had not only questions, but more reassurances that we've asked Quality about putting back the staging area together, or putting it back to normal after the project is done. There was some ambiguity in the spec, and Lou's addressed that and has assured us that it will be put back to the original design. Lou has graciously given us a $75,000 reduction on one line item, which was regarding the grading and the sod. He has also agreed to work additional hours and perhaps Saturdays to ensure that this project is done in time so that we can receive our FEMA reimbursement. And as we spoke about that last meeting, that is in addition to correcting things and completing the project, that is paramount for all of us from a pocketbook standpoint, that this be done and completed by November 1st so that we can receive millions of dollars in reimbursements from FEMA for phase 1 and phase 2. And Lou is absolutely on board with that. We talked a little bit about some renovations for the boat docks, and Lou and Josh will speak to that a little more directly. They've had a chance to go out and look at those, and we'll hand this microphone to them in a moment. And we are also discussing with them the possibility of some machinery access points along the lake other than the main access point. And we're going to get into that further with them, but that's more of a clarification item between us. And last item will be, it's recently come up to us about the impact that the staging area has on the nearby residents, and we will be discussing that further with Lou and his people to try to reduce that impact on our friends and our neighbors that are immediately adjacent to that area as best as we can. We do not have answers for that at the moment, as this is a very new item brought up to this new board, but we assure you we will be looking into that to try to improve that from the previous phase. Any questions for me? Otherwise, I'm going to hand this over to Josh and Lou.
There's one point I just want to reiterate and make sure it's clear to everybody. As I mentioned about the ECS contract, there are some issues. And ECS is the contractor that would be the quality manager. Everyone, or quality engineer, everyone should remember originally we had a quality engineer on site, we had a construction engineer on site overseeing the work independently of the contractor. And we felt that was necessary because Metro was very weak on construction management, number one. Number two, they didn't do a great job. So if you can imagine, this has evolved over time. Number one, we've already decided that based on the strength of Quality Enterprises' background, their management structure, their history, work in general, as well as at Heritage Bay, that we were going to eliminate the construction manager. Now, we were still considering a quality manager, a quality engineer to work independently. And one thing that we are addressing right now is that we have received through Lloyd's work a very, very comprehensive, detailed, and step-by-step approval quality process. This is documented by Quality Enterprises to us. They are proposing their step-by-step quality process, which is very clear, very precise. And it's when I say step-by-step, there's actually steps that we would have to approve before they would proceed. And it includes their mine, it includes receipts of rock. And again, that's why to me it wasn't absolutely critical that we get ECS on board, especially when there's some confusion. We have to think about whether or not we want to spend the money at all. I'm not saying we're not going to, but we need to think whether we need to spend the money at all, given the fact that we now have a contractor that's extremely quality driven. And on the surface, it looks fantastic to me. I was very, very pleased to see this quality plan that they themselves are proposing. And then so we can actually tailor and maybe reduce our costs for our quality manager, if not eliminate it altogether. We'll have to decide that in the future. But I want to reiterate that point that, again, quality has shown to us they are extremely committed to doing a very professional, very quality-driven project. And thank you very much for that. That was very nice, and it shows you do have a very good organization. So with that,
George, if you'd like, I'll read Lou's paragraph on that, just for, and sorry, I did leave that out on that is a critical item. This is from Lou's memo. It said, I wanted to provide some info on our internal quality control measures. Lauren Andrews is our QC manager who oversees our aggregation operation. He will verify type and size of material as it is processed. Material that is produced for this project will be segregated into stockpiles, which will be reviewed and approved by the QC manager. No materials can be pulled from a pile until it is approved by the QC manager. Once approved, the pile is opened for the operator to pull from. In addition, we welcome the Quarry CDD to send a representative to view the material at the processing facility before it is shipped to site to confirm material size and acceptance. At the project site, QE proposes to construct a mock-up area for the Quarry CDD to approve. This approval mock-up will resemble the final product of each location. QE will proceed to complete sections and have it reviewed by the CDD for approval before commencing work on a new area. We believe these steps will assure that the project is constructed in accordance with the plans and specs and meet the intent of the design.
A couple of comments. I believe that in the course of my career, my firm and every other firm like my firm says the same type of things. We will provide, we will do, we will assure quality control, we will have methods in place. And I'm pretty sure that Benita Grand would have given us the same language. So I don't want to diminish Mr. Gaudio's representation, and I'm hoping that it is what it says it is, and that we'll get what we say we're going to get. But I wouldn't want to short sell ourselves on the original, initial quality control oversight. My view of this project has always been, let's watch it very closely and carefully in the beginning, see that it is what it is, and then we can back off. But I have no reason to, in any way, diminish QE's quality and performance in words. But I personally am unwilling to accept that because I've seen it before. So the second question I have for either Lloyd or Mr. Gaudio is the $75,000 reduction. The line item is internal lake grading / sod, 75,000. Is that zeroed out?
The idea was the contract is a lump sum contract. You guys were asking for a reduction of where that can be reduced. That's a line item that if we the board decided would not replace. So instead of a lump sum contract, you can deduct that line.
So that's not a reduction in price, that's a reduction in scope.
Correct.
That's somewhat confusing to me too, because that was, and maybe Josh, it's a question for you. That is a item that is unrelated to hurricane repair from a reimbursement standpoint from FEMA, but nevertheless something that needed to be done in terms of the ordinary course of annual reports and repairs of the lakes.
Actually, I'm out of the loop on this. Have the department email chain for that would do so.
That was the portions of ponds primarily that were to be repaired.
Oh, I don't think anyone ever intended that to come
Yeah, that's why
That's why I'm confused.
I'm confused. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, no, we never intended that to come off.
So,
We'll keep that on there. I think that the question was, should it be, there was
FEMA.
a question whether it was a FEMA damage
Right.
product or was it a maintenance issue? And I would contend it's still a FEMA. I mean, it's still erosion that occurred during the hurricane, so I'm not including it in the product, but that's certainly for the board to determine, but I certainly wouldn't want to take it off the contract either.
so that item
If you wanted to
Okay.
pull out as a separate line item, I think it's almost the other saying, right?
Right, that item will need some more attention from
Yeah.
us.
So sorry for-
If I've misrepresented it, I apologize.
It's easy to add back on.
And the only other question I have is, and it's related, Lloyd, to something you said about FEMA, and I'll delay it until late in the meeting, Josh, but we deferred your FEMA update last meeting. And before we close this meeting, I do want to hear a little bit more about what has happened in the last couple of meetings on FEMA, because the certainty of getting millions of dollars back is not absolute, and I'm not sure it's millions, but I want to be sure that we have some updates so we don't misinform the public.
Any other discussion on the ECS contract?
If there's no other discussion, what I'd like to do,
Do you want the description of the docks? And anything from Lou while he's here? He does have to leave early.
I tell you, let's finish ECS.
Okay.
So I guess what we need now is a motion to proceed with just contract development with ECS then, to finalize the contract and get a firm number on exactly what the scope entails so that we can go forward with a purchase order. Do we need a motion for that? Okay.
I know that it was my suggestion, and again, I'm happy if the board overrules, that we don't execute with ECS until we know where we are with the district engineer who might be able to provide those same services.
No, that's fine. I mean, I guess
We can forward.
I want to get to a point where we can pull the trigger if we can. Right now, we cannot pull the trigger on ECS because their quote is inadequate. Their quote doesn't address the scope. So we need to develop the scope, or develop the quote around the scope properly, and then be able to pull the trigger the moment we feel we're ready to do so. Okay. Okay, so Jared, that's something we need to do ASAP. Want to make sure we get in contact with ECS ASAP so we can finalize that and get that going. And I believe that document that you and I reviewed should be able to get that done.
And you know, not the form agreement put together, so just tweaking the bill, if I'm sure it's correctly. And then, of course, getting the contract in their hands.
Correct. Okay, at this time, now, Lloyd, why don't you go ahead with your, to finish so Mr. Gatto can get out of here.
Lou and or Josh, you were going to bring out a little bit more information regarding clarification of docks and a couple other items.
There's one thing maybe I can interrupt, because I know that Mr. Gaudio is here, hoping to hear from this board that we want to proceed, but we can't give him that assurance or confidence under a letter of intent unless we hear back on financing. And what, so we can start with it, but we won't be able to finish with him until we can talk through that element, I think. So is it worth switching that, is it worth switching the quality discussion until after the financing gets discussed and we can maybe go to an LOI? As opposed to bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're going to skip recreation committees for today, and table that, and move on to the full-service CDD management company. Okay. We're going to move to new business number 5, consider approval of preliminary assessment methodology report for special assessment, refunding and approval, and improving bonds 2019.
Michael, are you taking that?
Yeah, quick note, obviously, everything on this is kind of a time rush. We all understand that we're under the gun on I recently received some updated comments from one of the attorneys. So, as far as the language goes in that methodology, this was the basic copy of last year's methodology, updated for the reality of this year, the separating of it into phases, and obviously the different amounts. One thing that the attorney noticed is that they made several references in last year's bond, the fact that because it was a drawn down bond, it wasn't a all issued at one time bond. There were several references to the fact that this is kind of a maximum. If we don't use it all, then anything not used will go back towards the bond. Because we're getting it all at one time, that language doesn't really apply here, so you have to remove some of that language. That doesn't mean that if we end up having more construction funds than we need, we can't still make a principal reduction. That is still an option to the district. It's just not, the way it was worded in this particular methodology was not appropriate, since it's no longer a drawn down type bond. Other than that, the only other change from this methodology, the one that I'm going to ask you guys to approve, is I did get a slightly updated number from Clark yesterday. You'll notice in your methodology, the first place, you'll see it is in section 1.0 introduction. When you scroll down to the third paragraph, that the bond amount we have in there is $3,508,292.47. There, for some reason, we can't have text in certain documents. So I don't know if it's something to do with the bank, something to do with some of the legal documents. But we basically had to round that up. Through that process of rounding up, that bond now is $3,508,296. So it's a difference of approximately $3.50. It doesn't actually change your annual assessments at all, because the annual assessments, due to rounding to the nearest penny, we're already about $6 what we need, so we're still fine on that. I just want to make the board aware that the number is actually going to be $3,508,296, not $292.47. Other than that, if you scroll down to the next page, you'll see table 1. On table 1, this is kind of the meat of the methodology. This displays both the interest rate and the term, or the bond size of $3,508,296, the interest rate of 4.875, and it shows the maximum debt assessment per unit. There's the last column on the right.
And the term is, Mike? For the record, the term?
The term on this is a 10-year term.
It is a 10-year term.
Yes.
What's that?
I did have a question from the board members, if we could add that in, I can add that to the additional language at the top of that table. The interest rate of 4.875, the bond size of $3,508,296, and I'm going to amend the table to also reflect term of 10 years. Or I may put in, term and the maturing on such and such year, whichever the attorneys prefer. There's also one thing for this for that stuff.
As long as it's
In
clearly done.
this chart, you have the max annual debt assessment per unit, which is that kind of bill column right there. So that's the amount that's going to show up on the tax bill. You've got the bond debt allocation per unit, which is all the way to the right. That's the amount that each home type is responsible for the bond. So up to $3,500,000, luxury coach is $2,631 of that $3,508,000, and so on and so forth. So that's the purpose of this methodology. Basically, is to describe the project, which is what we're calling phase 2 and 3. We mentioned that the financing of 2018 has now been kind of renamed phase 1, and that's the 2018 project is phase 1, 2019 project is phase 2 and 3, and then as you continue to scroll down, when you get to the appendices, the first one kind of gives you an overview of where that total bond amount is coming from. You've got your 2 construction phases, 2 and 3. You've got your some of your costs or the construction standards and quality itself. As you scroll further down, appendices, these appendices basically just describe the calculations that were used. These calculations, which are based off the runoff percentage of the land that were done, the original bond methodology, are all these charts and all these calculations are the exact same that were used and approved by the board for the 2018 bond. We aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. It's basically the exact same project, just updated for today's numbers and adding the additional information that this is a continuation of the project that was started last year. So with that, I will be happy to take any specific comments on this. And Mike is chair. Sorry to interrupt. A couple things. One is just in case we have new residents, and I know we've got some new board supervisors, and you probably understand this process, but where we are in the process, A, the intent is to adopt a declaring resolution that would approve Mike's report and also the engineer's report in substantial form and set a hearing that will be held probably 45 days from now, where the board will sit as an equalizing board, hear comments from the audience, and finally levy an opposed assessment to secure the future bond issue. One of the first things we'll do after this meeting is send out notice to all the residents, both mail notice as well as published notice, inform the public of the hearing and the anticipated assessment. And so that's the purpose of the report that Mike put together and presented today. Mike, for your for the board's benefit, would you just provide some testimony that the assessments as presented in the methodology are supported by sufficient benefit from the phase 2 and phase 3 projects, and that they are fairly and reasonably allocated consistent with board law and last year's assessment methodology? Yes. Okay. And with that, you don't want to take a motion to approve it in substantial form for purposes of advertising. That would be helpful. And then once we'll have the hearing, 30, 45 days here coming up to consider the methodology and whatnot.
Okay, before we do that, I want to thank everyone for being here, and everyone here deserves to hear exactly, again, reiterating exactly what we just discussed. And you all came here, I'm sure you're all very, very interested. I like to make things as crystal clear as possible. So, to reiterate, we are proposing